This municipal election is already known for a number of big changes: a new voters register, the return to hand counting, and political parties. And it could be remembered for how long it's taking some voters to cast a ballot. The CBC's Jason Markusoff is here to talk about how voting day is unfolding so far. So, Jason, we're getting a lot of feedback from voters who are saying they've had to wait a long time, up to, say, an hour and a half in some cases. It took me about half an hour. That was at 10:30 this morning, half an hour after the polls opened. What are you hearing?
Hearing an hour-long or hour-and-a-half-long wait is unheard of in the morning or at lunch hour. Normally those big long waits are after people work, so 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock. I don't know how long it's going to be coming up, and which also means that the voting count won't begin until all those people who are in line at 8 get to vote. So that means that maybe 9 o'clock, 9:30, 10 o'clock in some cases, they may not even start to count the ballots there, which means for, I'm not going to worry about the journalists, but those candidates and those teams, they'll be up late learning what if they have a job at the end of tonight.
Okay, so what do we know about the cause of the delays? What's happening?
So we knew that the province was adding a bunch of different things and new rules on this election. One of them is these new political parties, financing rules, the end of automatic machine tabulation of votes. So people will have to hand count votes. The same people who are taking your vote now will then have to stay later and hand count them till who knows what hour at night. But there's also this new thing, I don't think people really appreciated it, where every poll has to create a new register of electors. Municipalities have to create provincially mandated a register of electors, basically a new list or a newly verified list of votes, which is why when I was voting, somebody was looking at my name, crossing it off a list, and then had to handwrite on a new form and get me to sign a declaration, a new form. So this is creating a lot more work per voter. It's really sapping efficiency. So it's not that a bunch of more people are lining up to vote. It's that it's taking longer to process each person, and that's happening not just in Calgary. It's happening in Edmonton, and it's happening in other municipalities.
But I guess you could argue that the city, through Elections Calgary, perhaps didn't hire enough people to process all of these new requirements.
They generally have a certain budgeting that they think of, how much an election will cost. They've talked about how this one is going to cost a few million more than they expected. So they're using the same number of people, I believe, with the same budget they have to do so much more handwork.
Yeah, okay, so voter turnout, obviously always a big question mark when it comes to municipal elections. So when people hear about an hour delay, 90-minute delay, what do you think this could mean for voter turnout?
If people hear about that, or if they go to their voting station and see how long the line is and how slowly it's moving, many people might be discouraged if they weren't so sure of their vote. And we've heard so much about a high undecided. Turnout was already pretty low in the advance vote. It's been consistently rising over several years, like doubling, tripling from election to election. This time it dropped by a third. Which suggests that people are not as engaged or not as decided or sure about this election. So if people already have that, and then they go see a long line, that might even sap their confidence more.
Okay, Jason, thanks so much for stopping by.
Cheers.